Hi, everyone. Welcome, and really excited to be presenting this webinar today. My name is Hannah Walk. I'm the product manager for Greenshades Tax and Compliance. I've been working in compliance for over 8 years, and that spans across property tax, affordable housing, data privacy, corporate ethics, and now payroll tax. I've been a Greenie since earlier this year, and I'm really excited to be presenting today with my colleague, Katie.
Thanks, Hannah. Hey, everyone. My name is Katie Roy. I am our product manager over Employee Services and HR side of the house here at Greenshades. Been with the company since 2019. I did come from a kind of staffing background as well as product development background. And I have some experience in human resources as well. So very excited to be speaking to you guys about benefits and ACA compliance.
Awesome. So we'll get in to today's agenda. We're going to talk about offering benefits, what kind of benefits you need to be offering in order to maintain your compliance with the Affordable Care Act, and then get into navigating those 1095 forms, as well as distribution and filing, and then we'll wrap it up and open the floor for Q&A. Just as a reminder, the content of today's webinar is not legal advice. You should always make sure that you consult your local counsel as well as your organization's legal and accounting teams before making any significant decisions about your tax reporting and compliance programs. The purpose of today's presentation is to provide high-level overview of the year-end forms process and how Greenshades can help you. If you do need access to legal counsel and don't have any already identified or have a working relationship with them, Greenshades does partner with My HR Counsel to provide customers with affordable online and on-demand legal service. And so let's jump in.
Awesome. So we're going to get started here talking about benefits. So everything 1095 reporting starts with making sure that you are offering the correct benefits to the correct employees in the correct amount of time. So we're going to define just some of the basics to get started when it comes to your medical benefits you are providing. They need to have or offer minimum essential coverage, which is defined as the Affordable Care Act requirement for having a health coverage. We can go over in the next slide about some of those basic needs, but it does have to provide what the government defines as minimum for that health coverage. Some just examples of this are Medicare and Medicaid, and then any marketplace plan that you are working with your broker to provide. They also have to have minimum value, and they have to be affordable. And that affordability rate for this year, or the plan year 2023, is going to be 9.12%. Now you're calculating that you're using different safe harbors for that. And then that could be dependent on how your organization is choosing to calculate that affordability. But that could be, W-2 wages, it could be rate of pay, or it could be using the poverty line for 2023. But it does have to cover at least 60% of the total allowed cost of the benefit underneath that plan. So your employer portion has to cover at least 60% of that. So going through some of those essential parts of the benefits that your benefit needs to be offering. This is just a couple of them. What is deemed to be that minimum amount of coverage and minimum value for that. Here's some of the just typical offerings within that medical coverage. And again, most of these on the marketplace will be provided, and you can work with your broker on that, as I'm sure many of you have, as we are in what is typically open enrollment season right now. Outside of being able to offer coverage, you have to be able to provide it to your employees. And if you're using technology or the Greenshades benefits products or any of the Greenshades products to do that, you are communicating this through open enrollment. You're talking to your employees. You are offering that coverage through the product, or offering it some sort of a way that the employee knows about it, and then they can determine whether they would like that coverage or not. Again, 1095C and 1095 reporting is all about the offer. It doesn't matter that you are reporting if the employee does choose to enroll in that plan, but the most important part is that you are offering that minimum essential coverage. Moving forward onto ACA, I'm going to define a little bit about what the Affordable Care Act is, and kind of talk about reporting within the product. So as most of us know, but just kind of going over a brief overview, Affordable Care Act was put in place in 2010 by the IRS. It is for any employer that has over 50 or more full-time employees. It also expand into the Medicaid program to cover our lower income adults and individuals. but it is to support and make sure that our employees have coverage and have health insurance that is provided to their employees, offered to them through their employer. A few just checklists for you as employers. Is it really important to figure out your ALE status, your aggregate large employer status. You need to make sure that your employees are tracking all of their time and vacation, any medical if they are taking, if they are, going on family medical leave, or if they have jury duty or other important reasons that they are no longer a full-time employee or going from full-time to part-time. All of those different events that may change their employment status is going to affect their coverage and when they need coverage and when they're offered coverage within our product and in general, their offer of medical coverage. It's also very important to make sure you're tracking just basic employee details for the filings, such as social security numbers, dependents if you are a self-insured. All those things are really important to keep track of throughout the year. And then you really do want to make sure that you are planning and allotting a good amount of time to complete these forms and distribute them. The filing deadline, as Hannah will go over later, is a little bit later in the year, so it's not necessarily that January 31st deadline, but you do still want to make sure you have enough time to accurately get this data into the system, make sure it's correct, and then make sure those forms are distributed properly. Now, if you're using our product, you can kind of do this throughout the year, whether you have benefits or you have our payroll product that has our ACA module within it. Our system does do full tracking throughout the year, so it's measuring, do you have anyone that needs coverage? You can offer those, make sure your benefits packages are correct, and then you can check individual employee level as well to see what their 1095C would look like throughout the year. So if you do need to make any adjustments or you see any line 14 or 16 codes that are incorrect, you can manage those throughout the year. If you see something that's incorrect and you have no idea why, you can always reach out to us and we can kind of look into some of those, some of that data to figure out what's going on and if there needs any adjustments. So that way, when it does come to year end and you're doing all of the other form filings as well, it's a little bit easier to tackle the 1095Cs.
All right. Now that you've ensured that you have that minimum essential coverage and that you are tracking and making sure that you are being compliant, the next responsibility that you have is filing your 1095C. 1095C is a set of information returns that is comprised of both an information return that's filed with the IRS, as well as disclosure reports that are sent to your employees. Employees need that information in order to file their tax returns by April 15th. And so it's really important that you ensure that your 1095C is filed both with the government as well as those 1095Cs are provided to your employees. They include information about the coverage that was offered, any contributions your employees made to the plan, as well as what months the employee was covered. This is really important, especially in years where people change jobs, which we all know in 2023, there was a lot of people changing jobs. And so it's important for people who are filing their individual returns, those 1040s, to make sure that they have a 1095C from each of their employers so that they're able to document their coverage and the employers are able to document that they're meeting their responsibilities. Recipients do need to receive their copies by March 4th, 2024. And if you're filing with the government on paper, that filing does need to be done by February 28th, 2024. But if you're e-filing, you have until April 1st in order to get your 1095Cs filed. So it is a little bit after those W-2 filings, but always good to ensure that you're getting that information out early, as more and more employees are interested in filing their 1040 earlier in the year. The 1095B is another critical document, which is basically your accounting. And so it identifies the policy subscriber, any dependents that are included in the policy, and specifies coverage months for you and your dependents. So it's a secondary document that provides more information about the health insurance coverage. Again, those copies have the same filing requirements. So March 4th for recipient copies, and then e-file by April 1st or paper file by February 28th. You really want to keep an eye on those e-file and paper copy deadlines because there are changes this year around information return filing that impact almost everyone. But before we get into that, do you want to take a minute to talk about some of the pitfalls that you can see with 1095s? So 1095 is an information return, and like all information returns, it can be subject to penalties in the event where it was filed late, statements were not issued to taxpayers, so to your individuals, or you don't file at all. The IRS has announced their penalty scheme for 2024 filings, with the lowest penalty being $60 and the highest penalty being over $600 per return. So you really want to make sure that you are being accurate and being complete and timely when filing your returns. However, there's another kind of gotcha that can happen with those 1095Cs, and it's related to information quality. So one of the things that happens if you are filing a 1095C is that you need to make sure that you've documented that minimum essential coverage offer. Again, it's about the offer, not about the acceptance of the offer. And so you need to make sure that you are offering and documenting your offers. And otherwise, when you fail to offer MEC or you fail to properly report the MEC coverage offer, you could be facing a bill from the IRS for what's called employer shared responsibility. Employer shared responsibility is a calculation of the additional burden to the taxpayer that would be represented by not having affordable coverage available from their employer. So employers who are covered as ALEs do need to make sure that they are documenting the offer of MEC on their 1095C correctly. Otherwise, they could be getting a bill for that employer shared responsibility. But let's get into distribution and filing. So I mentioned a little bit earlier that there's a change to information return filing this year. Starting January 1st, 2024, the e-filing threshold for information returns has been lowered from 250 returns to 10 returns, and that includes your 1095C. So if you are filing 1095Cs for more than 10 employees, you need to make sure that you are e-filing those returns. Luckily, you already are familiar with Greenshades, and we are here to help. We are actively preparing to be ready to start filing those e-filed 1095C information returns in January of this year. So we'll be ready to help you meet this new requirement. This is part of a long-term investment from the IRS in technology and modernization, as well as reducing the amount of overhead and processing time for returns. So employers that switch to e-filing should see better response times, better accuracy, and better engagement from the government. The new filing requirements are cumulative, so it's across all information returns. That includes your 1099 series, the 1095 series, as well as the 1042S. Now, I talked about this a little bit already, but in the wake of this new filing requirement, Greenshades is here to help. And so we're able to help you with flexibility so that you can download and e-file your forms on your own. We can submit to agencies directly through our software, and we can also help with that printing and mailing. 1095Cs do need to be distributed to employees, and you have options to distribute those either electronically or through our printing and mailing service. There are some benefits, some clear benefits to electronic filing and distribution. One of those is that it does reduce your carbon footprint. It can help you be a little bit more attentive to the environment, which is something that's becoming more and more important to our employee bases. So being able to talk to your employees about how you're getting this information to them in an easy to access manner, right from their phones. And also you're saving trees, saving paper, saving energy by not mailing things. So this has been a pretty fast webinar today. We are going to wrap up, and then if you do have any questions, please make sure you put them in the chat, and Katie and I will be happy to answer them. So filing year-end with Greenshades, we have more than 20 years of experience as a company in tax and compliance. We've been compliant and supporting ACA 1095 filing since the beginning of the requirements, and we've been doing W-2s and 1099s for even longer than that. We offer a full suite of software to help with your payroll, benefits, time and attendance, as well as your taxes, so that you can use Greenshades throughout the year and have all of that information ready to go when year end comes. Today, we talked about how to stay compliant with your benefits, ensuring that your employees have the correct benefits and that you're adhering to ACA guidelines. We talked how you can use technology to streamline the process, especially getting those filings done faster and more efficiently. And then staying up to date on compliance changes, making sure that you're ready to do your 1095 filing according to the rules for this year.
So thank you again to our presenters. Thank you to all of you, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.